Caitlin and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my first video of 2025, and who's shocked? It's a video about books. 2024 was a really great year for me reading wise. I read so much more than I usually do in a year, and I read so many more books that I normally wouldn't have picked up, and I've really enjoyed it, honestly. Part of the fun for reading for me anyways is getting to track all the books I'm reading, how quickly I'm reading them, where I am in each book, and then at the end of each book getting to review and rate them. And to do that, I use Goodreads, and they actually have a kind of yearly recap that they do for you instead of having to go back and figure out what was your first book and like your longest review and that kind of stuff. It kind of calculates all of that for you. So I kind of wanted to share all of that and then a couple other things for my 2025 reading. Before we do that though, I hope you like the new setup. This is the area that I'm hoping to do most, if not all, of my reading videos in the future. Right here, you can barely see it, and that's on purpose, is my new bookshelves, but they're not like completely done yet. So in the future, that will be more on display, like in this side of the video. But for now, you're only getting to see a sliver of it right there. But hopefully I will be recording a room tour soon, so you will definitely get to see that when it is complete. But now back to the statistics of my 2024 year in books. So in 2024, I read a total of 48 books, which is literally insane, mainly because I set my goal for last year to be 25 books read in an entire year. And by reading 48 books, I almost doubled that number, which is genuinely so insane to me, and I am so proud of that. Across those 48 books, I read a total of 17,866 pages. My shortest book was 199 pages, and that was I Know What You Did Last Summer by Lewis Duncan. And the longest book I read this year was 827 pages, and that book was Winter by Marissa Myers. The average book length that I read in 2024 was 372 pages. A book that I read this year that was the most shelved by other people was Where the Crawdads Sing, and the least shelved book by other people was The Returning. My average star rating for books in 2024 was 4.1 stars. And the highest rated book on Goodreads that I read this last year was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. My first review of the entire year was of an Ever After High book called A Wonderlandful World, and it low-key might have been my longest review as well. Some of the books that are highlighted by Goodreads themselves that I read this year were Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood, The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, Daydream by Hannah Grace, Powerless by Elsie Silver, and Reckless by Elsie Silver. And this part is actually wrong because it says that my last review of the year was for a book called The Holiday Switch, but actually I read and finished and reviewed a book after that, and so that means that the actual last review of the year was for All In. If you want a more in-depth look of what some of my favorite books were from 2024, I highly recommend you go and check out my favorites of 2024 video because I list my top 3 books of the year there. Now to move on for 2025. I wanted to list out a couple of my most anticipated reads of this coming year. It's not the complete list, it's mainly just some kind of more well-known titles or authors that I'm really excited for. I also have them listed in like order of release as opposed to like how excited I am for them, so keep that in mind. A book that I am anticipating in this coming year that is coming out on January 28th is Spiral. This is going to be a second book in a series, and admittedly, I didn't love the first book. However, this is a hockey romance series, so I have to at least try. I have to at least try. And it's possible that the writing and character development and plot development has gotten better since the last book. So who am I to not give it a shot, right? Next, being released on February 11th, we have Scythe and Sparrow. Now, I believe this is actually the third book in a trilogy that I actually haven't even started yet, but I am super interested because from what I understand, the storyline follows the life of serial killers, either multiple or just one per book. And I am super interested in that because, I don't know, I personally just haven't read a lot of books where it's from the perspective of a serial killer, more like kids or adults trying to solve a mystery and find out who a serial killer is. Next up, on March 4th, we have a new release by Elsie Silver, Wildside. Now, this is another series that I haven't actually started yet, and as a matter of fact, I haven't finished her Chestnut Springs series, but I have the first book in this series and have the last book in the other series, so technically I can jump right in whenever I want, and I also have a couple of months to catch up. Okay, I know I said that these aren't like ranked in any specific like order of how much I'm anticipating them, but honestly, this next one is probably my most anticipated of the entire year. And it is coming out on March 18th, and that is the newest addition to the Hunger Games series, Sunrise on the Reaping. We have been begging as a fandom for Haymitch's games and storyline for so long, and it is so genuinely exciting to get to see that from his perspective. And the movie was announced. So it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year for sure. Next up, from one of my favorite authors, on April 22nd, we will be getting a new Emily Henry book called Great Big Beautiful Life. I'm very interested to see how exactly this book follows its plot line because in a way it kind of reminds me of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but it also has an entire storyline about the people writing this book. So I'm very interested to see how this turns out. And last but not least, a book that will be released on August 5th is If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. I haven't personally read anything from Kate Golden, or at least that I know of, but I saw on Instagram that this book is kind of like Hosier vibes, and the cover is beautiful and definitely giving Hosier vibes. So I'm very excited. And it's about like some music stuff, which is actually a subgenre that I kind of want to get more into this coming year. So very excited about that. And that is my list of anticipated reads for this coming year. Obviously, there are probably tons of more books coming out, but these are just a couple that I have noticed being promoted recently that I am really, really excited for. The last thing that I wanted to kind of discuss in this video were some of my reading goals for 2025. The first goal is to read a total of 40 books this year. Now, at the beginning, when I was talking about how many books I read in 2024, I said that I read a total of 48 books. And while that's really close to nearly doubling what I originally wanted to read, it was not totally reached, and I don't want to stress myself out with the idea of surpassing or getting to that specific goal when I know that I can read at least 40 books in a year. So I kind of want to start with that, and you know, if I read 50 or more books in this coming year, that's great and that's awesome, but I don't want to stress myself out about a reading like goal before the year is even really begun. Another one of my goals is not necessarily reading based specifically, but does involve reading, and that's just to be able to balance my intake of different medias better because, and I'm sure I'm not the only one with this problem, but I seriously have an issue with only focusing on one media at a time. So if I'm really into reading, I won't be watching any TV or movies or whatever. Or if I'm really focused on a TV show, I won't pick up a book for like 3 weeks. And I feel like I can't really find a good balance with that, which is a shame because I love doing both, you know? I love reading new books and all that comes with that, but I also love watching new TV shows and movies. So I'm kind of hoping to just find like a happy medium there. And the last goal that I have for 2025 is to complete some series before I start new ones. Now, for the most part, I don't think this will be particularly difficult because a lot of the series that I am currently in the middle of right now, I'm actually on like the last book. So that shouldn't be very difficult, but there are a couple of series that I'm like right in the middle or like have only read the first book, but know I want to read the entire series. So I want to be able to complete those series, you know, close it out and move on before I have like 8 different series that I'm in the middle of reading. And that's really all that I have for goals this year when it comes to my reading. Not anything crazy, you know, I don't want to set expectations too high for myself and then be incredibly disappointed when I can't reach them. I would rather set the bar low and then exceed it. I would love to hear what some of your reading goals are for this coming year, or what some of your most anticipated releases are as well in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!